Market news now. Global stocks firmed as optimism over corporate earnings and China's reopening offset concerns. The Bank of Japan might temper its supersized stimulus policy at a pivotal meeting this week. U.S. stock and bond markets are closed for Martin Luther King Day. The dollar fell against both emerging markets and the group of 10 currencies on bets that the Federal Reserve will slow the pace of interest rate hikes. Locally, MTN is fighting a massive tax bill of as much as 13 billion rand in Ghana after allegations by the country's government that the mobile operator underdeclared its revenue by a third between 2014 and 2018. In morning trade, shares were down 6.2%. Its sector peers such as Vodacom and Telkom were down 0.4% and 2.7% respectively. To give us some perspective on the markets, we are joined by, of course, Bright Khumalo from Vestec Asset Management. Bright, thank you so much for your time. We were about to end off the month of January, but I wanted to get your sense of what do you make of the shifts in market sentiment, at least since the start of the year?
I mean, since the start of the year, we've been firing on all cylinders. And like you said at the beginning, the bets are that, the Fed and mostly other central bankers as well are going to be, very conservative in increasing their interest rates, because the numbers that are coming, from, the economy on the ground, for example, like inflation is cooling off. And as a result, there's no reason to keep on, increasing these interest rates at an aggressive pace like we've seen basically in the past year.
On that note, then, does the recent U.S. inflation data solidify the argument that the Fed can downshift to 25 basis points?
Not just the most recent one. I mean, this was the 7th month of, inflation numbers, reversing and not going up. So they're going, backwards, meaning they're cooling. But what's important about this latest, set of numbers is that it didn't come above expectations. So that's, the narrative there is that, we have an expectations number and this is what came out. It was in line this time around, which maybe may signal that in the near future we'll see that number cooling off even faster. But if you look at, the constituents of CPI, the basket itself, I mean, fuel prices are going in the right direction with the oil prices sort of subdued and going, backwards. You're seeing that maybe, wages has peaked as well, which was a big issue because it's been hot for a very long time in the US, and now that's turning around. It's been good for markets and it's good for economies, I guess, in a sense.
Before we go back to the US, because I want to talk about company earnings, but let's look at China for a bit. What do you make of the growing signs that China may be potentially ending its crackdown on the tech sector? Do you want to believe in those growing signs, or is it too early to tell just yet?
I've not seen any signs, and I read about China every morning before I come to work. So I'm looking forward for some policy shift, and most importantly, policy shift is one thing. I want to see them, for example, going into Tencent or Baidu or any other of these big, game developers, and actually fulfilling, that backlog of games that have been out there since 2018, that none of them have actually been, given the thumbs up. So I'm ready. Once I start seeing that happening at a faster pace, then you'll see me smile about China. But for now, I'm still very conservative, and the only play that I'm playing with, the China reopening is investing into luxury goods companies. We've seen the share prices of LVMH, Richemont, and Kering, reacting very positively towards that, because most of their, a significant part of their earnings does come from Southeast Asia, and the opening of that is very important, and mostly travel towards, places like the West. I'm talking about France, maybe New York and, San Francisco, where they have all these big stores. It's very positive that, Chinese can travel again.
Locally, as I mentioned in my intro, MTN Ghana hit with that massive tax bill. How concerned should we be about the situation?
Yes, we should always be concerned when such a thing comes, especially for a company that it has happened to before. I mean, now it begs the question whether is this going to be a regular occurrence, or Ghana, since they're going their own financial disarray, they just copied Nigeria's black book, and then they're applying it again to the same company, because it's not a Ghanaian company. Unfortunately, we don't know the truth. But what it means for shareholders is that we were down about 6.5% at the beginning of the session. I see we're only down about 4.2% now. And obviously, MTN has said they're going to fight this in court. But what it means is it'll end up with the settlement of some part of the money. But to what end? Because I mean, this is a big risk for a company like MTN, that every once in a while, when a country is not doing well, they're going to look at the list of big companies listed in the company. I mean, operating in the country, and start billing them bogus tax bills from the past.
As we wrap up, company news or events that you're keeping an eye on for the remainder of the week?
Oh yeah, so it's still big earnings weeks. So I'm still watching. For example, like today we're going to see Goldman Sachs, Goldman Sachs and other big banks and other financial services companies coming out with earnings. But I mean, I'm very busy, during the earnings season. So you know what it is.
All right, Bright, thank you so much for your time. That is Bright Khumalo from Investec Asset Management. And as he mentioned, earnings season in the U.S. kicking off in earnest. We had the banks starting us off. This week we've got Goldman Sachs and Netflix. But as the day unfolds, as we get into a full swing with earnings season, we will unpack all those company numbers for you. That is it from me. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have more news for you, so stay tuned.